Prog is
authorities, law enforcement, kind of heavy crackdown, and then counterculture kind of fighting to exist. You know, so sometimes I kind of wish that level of intense duality could kind of drop just a little bit.
To progress that sound to a point where people think, oh wow, like sounds
That's
like what
fucking progressive. That sounds very progressive.
But you wouldn't say it like that, would you? Hey? Well, yeah, but say, that sounds like so-and-so.
That's a good prog,
mate, that is progressed to the point that it's going to progress so you know what I mean, bro? Like,
Well, you just put your heart and your soul into like your production, whatever it is. You know what I mean? You don't really want to
And
be
you
just,
will
you don't want
progress.
to be just like, oh, it's prog. You know, you kind of like, well, my prog's a little bit different. I got this in my prog.
Super prog.
You know, I put my heart and soul into this. I don't want to be just like labeled with the masses.
has that music progressed itself to
I
that
think
point?
so. I think so.
Or
I think so.
It
Something.
came from
I think it progressed itself to that point.
amalgamation of different...
Can you stop scratching that?
I wasn't really. I'm over this like insufficiently psychedelic sound. I'm gonna like go and get some more psychedelic. The programming is actually super important because the journey lasts for more than the length of one artist's set. And if you have very disjointed sets going back and forth, sometimes that can lead to very interesting experiences, and sometimes that would lead to less flowing experiences.
Yeah.
And it's actually good to have a bit of a mixture. You know, it doesn't always have to be a perfect seamless transition.
But that's how we've spoke throughout, and the word progressive, to have it so it's a niche market, so to speak, within
But
the community.
doesn't it mud the whole thing? Like prog, what is it? Prog this, prog that.
I reckon that's a good description of. I reckon, does that satisfy your definition for what progressive is?
It's
Prog is bullshit.
Yeah, shout out Solid Professor for having us today on the podcast. I'm Helms Deep. Shout out to Adam Incongruous. Check him out at Dragon Dreaming this year. As we spoke, it's going to be mad. Yeah, shout out to all the people out there. You can't stare, beware, cause I'm coming with the glare. Nah, not there, bruh. I'm coming through like I was the star in the sky, aligned with nature. Coming through, I don't hate you, but I'm naughty. No, they told me the ways, but I'm going back to the old. I don't rock chains of gold, it's the mala I'd rather, so I meditate and go progress to the heavenly state. Come from man and tell me to bait. Yo, I'm not there with the sharks in the sea, but I'm coming through, man, cause I see clearly with 1, 2, 3 eyes. I don't despise, but those guys in those ties, the corporate lies. Enterprise ain't the way, or the prize to the top. Coming through, man, cause the mountaintop ain't reached. I come through like they're never gonna teach, but I come through, man, for the soul I'm trying to reach. Soul of the system, come through like a piston. Rise up, man, like I was Sonny Liston. 1, 2 to the government ways, but I'm coming through, man. They say it's the end of days, but I pray for the souls out there in the world. Come through, man, now, cause you never herald the new world order. The reporter on 9 News can lose, cause I come through, man, cause the truth is what I choose. Yeah. Shout out to Mish for having us. Be strong, be yourself, be true, bless, peace.
Thank you, brother. Awesome.
That was sick.
Awesome.
That was pretty mad.
Thanks. Yo.
That's awesome. That's
Boom.
awesome.
Prog is bullshit.
Hello, everybody from Canberra. This is what's the name of my podcast, guys?
Prog is bullshit.
Solid Professor music.
Yeah, this is Progress Bullshit Podcast, episode 5. I'm gonna try to get artists to say the name of my podcast out loud so that I can sample them and have this big funny compilation. But anyway, thank you for joining us, the listeners and the viewers too. So just to remind that the podcast is available in both formats, on YouTube and on listening audio podcasting platforms.
Nice.
So we have two guests with us, two artists, Helms Deep and Incongruous. So, guys, thank you for coming and joining me today.
Thanks
how
for
are you
having
going?
us.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us, Professor. Such an honor and privilege to come to the podcast. Been an avid follower now since I've seen your videos. Too good. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you
Be
for
glad
being
to
here.
talk about it.
Well, I'm very privileged to have you two all OGs on my podcast. So you certainly seen some stuff and you got stuff to say. So
I've got a question about that. I honestly don't know what that is. Every time I keep thinking, like, what does the acronym stand for? I honestly don't know.
Old guy.
Old guy?
Yeah.
Is that actually what it is?
OG,
Old gangster.
OG, I think is acronym, as you said, for original gangster. So it could be Ice-T that may have coined the phrase because he brought the album out, Original Gangster. So to put it in that perspective, OG is someone who's been there from sort of the early days of a movement and or maybe a music platform that he coined and is still doing to this day. So
Sick.
That's
OG, I think, is like someone that knows their shit.
Mm. So that's cool. This is the content that I love, you know. So guys, so tell me about what's been up to with your what have you been up to music wise recently?
Myself, I can say I haven't done a lot of music lately. Writing, I always write stuff. So first and foremost, I'm an MC. I'm a rapper, as they say. I'll put myself to the test daily in my head with bringing up rhymes and especially about what's going on in life, my life, and relating to the current state of the world in perspective from my eyes. So, yeah, recording or putting songs down, no, I haven't done anything like that for a while. But always keen to have my say through my voice.
But do you like when you write? Do you listen to some beats when you write, or do you just sort of write when?
For me, I can hear a good beat that's someone's song, and like that comes to me, and I can go with that beat and syncopate it with what I'm writing down. And but yeah, like I like a beat that I hear that's I can go with the flow, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you?
I've been basically just working on the set for Dragon. Actually, Dragon's in a week, so I've been trying to get something ready for that. Dave Caffrey's getting married. I'm trying to get some music organised for that. That's going to be very
a big
exciting.
announcement on my podcast. Congratulations, Dave.
Yeah. So yeah, getting ready for that, and the other thing I'm sort of working on, which is sort of ties in with those two things, it's like a little bit of sort of like reshaping like a new Morning Psy kind of set. So I wouldn't say it's a new sound because I'm not producing, I'm just mixing, but I'm sort of putting together a new
sound.
Morning Psy set, I'd call it.
Yeah, that's
and it fuses like traditional sort of morning full on, but then it has more breaks where you have like more ambient music and more chillgressive or down tempo. So it's not all one tempo. The set, it moves through distinct layers, and some of it might be like really lush ambient. Then it would go sort of a bit slower, but with a sort of a psytrance groove, and then you might go into something quite uplifting and pumping. So I'm sort of working on that as like a bit of a concept set.
Have you heard of the thing called like Twilight? Is there such a genre of music, or what, Twilight trance? Kind of?
Yeah, there is a subgenre called that. Yeah, I don't know a lot about that. It's a bit different to what I play, I think, but it's pretty good, actually. It's pretty... So the transition transition music's pretty nice with psytrance, like I've always liked that.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you're referring to the Twilight sort of sound, it'd be something that at that time is going from light to dark. So in the spectrum of the music...
Or dark to light. Right.
Well... Twilight is the time. Twilight is the time, sort of dusk, as they say. So I guess if you look at some sounds like one good artist I saw with that next to her name when she was playing was an Aussie artist, Illume. Seen her at many Doofs and festivals over the years, but that sound where it does transition into darker sound by the end of the set because it's become night, dark night. So if that's where the music's headed, it's a really good transitional type music, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what do you think? Have you been preparing for the Dragon set quite a bit, or what?
Yeah, fair bit. It's kind of flowing reasonably good so far. It's
So what sort of set? Well, when are you playing?
I'm playing I'm playing on it'll be the village stage, it's called. I'm playing like a Sunday morning, so it'll be like 5 a.m. to 7:30 Sunday morning. So it's going to be like, it has to be sort of really low tempo. It can't be like a pumping set. It's like an ambient chillgressive. But it'll be, it's sort of in that time where people may be coming back after a big night, sort of transitioning across.
So how do you call it? Chillgressive?
Chillgressive is what it's called.
That's another beauty, yeah? Chillgressive.
Please enlighten me on Chillgressive.
Oh, my goodness.
Prog is bullshit.
I see, the thing is, I'm not even sure at this stage if I'm going to be going to Dragon.
Okay.
But, like, I'm really very curious to see what this Chillgressive sounds like. Can you maybe, like, just in case if I don't get to the Dragon, can you name like a couple of artists that I should check out if I were to find out what's
pretty new? It's a pretty new genre. It's, some people also call it deep trance, and it basically fuses like an ambient sort of soundscapes with like a progressive trance beat, right? But the pace of it is like 100 BPM or 90 BPM or maybe up to 115, 120. So it's like lots of ambient breakdowns, quite lush, quite flowing. Then like 4/4 sort of prog side beat, but at 115 BPM.
So how is it different from, like, for example, side chill?
Well, it could be considered side chill, but it doesn't have the broken beat. So it's a bit more it's a bit more trancey structured. Right. So it has that sort of that baseline, that structure to it. Mobitex is like a good artist in it. So
Mobitex,
yeah, Mobitex from Israel.
Right.
So look him up, and then there's also a guy on YouTube called Savas Cult, and he basically like puts up heaps of tracks on this genre. Like he seems to be involved. Like he knows all the releases. He puts up them on his channel. Yeah. So I found heaps of artists looking through that.
Yeah.
Any label that you can associate?
Alter Records is probably the leading one, I'd say. Quite amazing. They've got some really nice ambient and other styles of sort of down tempo, side chill and stuff as well. But quite a few of their artists are like this chillgressive sound that sort of really took off about 2016. That's when it sort of started coming out. So it's pretty new as a genre, but it has some similarities to stuff that's existed for way longer than that.
Yeah. I'll be interested to hear that.
For
understand what it means. Chillgressive. That's another bloody spin-off. Bloody Prog. Yeah. Prog, you know what?
There's a lot of essive out there, is what you're saying, Mish.
So what do you reckon about this gin?
Well, I have not had this particular flavour, but
it's actually starting to grow on me a little bit. Actually, at first I thought gin, that's going to be horrible. So I had a really
it's
small
clean,
amount, but it's actually quite refreshing now.
Yeah, it's refreshing is a good word, and it's a clean taste, so it doesn't have that.
So taking the opportunity to thank Poncho Fox for giving us this gin to enjoy during our conversation.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very much appreciated. But honestly, without bullshit, just the taste of pomegranate in it just makes it just so smooth.
It's a pleasant taste. Yeah, for sure.
So
he's done well. Poncho Fox has done well.
Check it out, for sure. Thank you, Poncho Fox. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Prog is bullshit.
So, you are both going to the Dragon, right?
Yeah.
So, what are you expecting this year?
Expectations. I'll definitely say I've got expectations, but I know with Dragon Dreaming, it'll be a really good festival. From the humble beginnings they had to where they've gotten to when they last won in 2018, like that was just premiere production on all accounts, the way that one happened. So I guess this year with how everything's gone with the world in these last few years, it'll be probably less people, but regardless of that, it's going to be a phenomenal event, I think. Is that setting high expectations? No, because that's what I've come to know from Dragon Dreaming. Especially on that new location when they went out 2013. Man, like you couldn't ask for a more lush environment to have a Doof festival.
So how many Dragon Dreamings have you been to?
Well, I've been to every one except for two. For two, the first one in 2008 and the second one in 2014 when I was on my trek to Machu Picchu. So, I had to miss out that year. But I'll say this about that. In 2014, when I walked to the Sun Temple at Machu Picchu, I laid out my coca leaves and some crystals at the Sun Temple, which is away from the main city. And for about 5 to 10 seconds, I did my own trance dance and sent it back for Dragon, because that's how much that festival meant to me. And I'd actually put a post for the people that were playing, people I knew. Because, for New South Wales, it's the premier festival they have, I think. And Canberra, it's a Canberra local one that we've all come to know and love over these years.
Yeah.
So to answer that, the expectations, I'm just expecting a really good time. And that will be what I think everyone will be there for.
So would you say the festival is more Canberra than New South Wales?
To put I guess because from my experience and knowing people that had started that festival, they were from Canberra. So yeah, definitely. But I think as it grew and obviously with the other region from the early days, and I remember at the old location, Electric Power Poles record label were in on it. One of the stages one year or other times as well. I mean, as a collective for New South Wales, it was a collective of different people but fundamentally I think it was a Canberra started festival, and it's just grown to a national, international festival, in my opinion.
What do you think, Adam? What do you expect from this year's festival, and what do you think about?
I think there's the fact that people have been waiting 4 years for it. It's just amped it up massive this year. Just feels like it's going to explode, actually, with intensity and passion and things like that. It is. It's truly like a leading festival in the Australian scene now, and the lineup this year, I think, pays testament to that, and the production and just the loyal following. There's people who are almost religious about Dragon.
Yeah.
It seems that way. It's a bit,
and that's pretty impressive. To build something like that, that's pretty impressive. I take my hat off to that.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's a true testament, as Adam said. To have a festival like that as on the Australian scene, like for people to treat it like that religiously, it means a lot to obviously everyone.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you said you may be going. Hopefully you go.
I reckon you should go.
The stars align and all that, You
need to be going to this thing.
Yeah.
At least for one night, maybe I should try to just...
At least one night.
Yeah, one night's will sort of interrupt the experience, you know what I mean? It's.
But
I was originally thinking that too. I was like, maybe I should come back for work Monday. Like, should we, what should I do about Monday? And eventually I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go there for the full thing, because it's almost like I'm gonna interrupt some important experience by coming back and trying to come back to the mundane after whatever that
exactly.
is, you know.
That's what,
it's like
for me, I can't do it. I've got an event to go before and then after, like on Monday, stuff to do. So I can't not interrupt. So if I get to go, it's going to be for one night, maybe two.
I think the option of the one night,
better than nothing. Huh?
If there was a poll out there that we could put out, I'd say for me, if I was voting on which night to go, then I'd go Saturday night.
That's the night. Yeah,
Saturday night, come back if that works, because I think, as Adam said, touched on before too, with the lineup, you're going to get some of the best music production in the scene today from Australian artists and from wherever they're from, regardless. But some of the premier artists in this country throwing down some really good music in all the genres and subgenres of whatever they are, types of music.
Prog is bullshit.
So guys, what are you? You've been. How long have you guys been sort of going to Doofs and bush raves, that stuff like that?
Well,
Adam.
Yeah.
2001. I sort of got into. I did a gap year in 2000. I sort of started getting into it then, but didn't really discover like underground music until 2001. So
when was your first Doof?
What was my first Doof?
When was it?
Oh, it would have been... I can't remember. I went to club gigs before I went to the Doofs. So I started off with underground club nights.
Yeah.
And then went to Doofs from there.
Yeah.
So I think Doof would have been 2002 probably.
Yeah. When did you start DJing?
Like 2003, 2004. Yeah, it's pretty rough for a while.
When did you play your first gig at the Doof?
Like 2004, 5, somewhere around there.
So pretty quick, right?
Yeah, it didn't take that long. I was trying pretty hard to once you get that stuff going, you're like a bit obsessed for a while. You know, you kind of practice every day for a while and that. So, but yeah, a little while later, yeah.
So I guess from those earlier days, so to speak, if you wanted to ask me when I went to, it was probably like a doof around these parts, like the late 90s, early 2000s. I remember being in college and it was happening then, when in 1995, maybe wasn't sort of the scene I was into. It was more hip hop. I mean, dudes I knew were going out to the bush at parties around these parts. So, but from the early 2000s, I guess I went to parties, but with me again, like I went to lots of club gigs, but sort of full gone to doofs and festivals, like was probably 2009 when I met someone from this Canberra community, Justin, which is he's come a long way to himself, but his early parties, like meeting him and going to his full moon parties, like going, oh wow, this is where it's at again, like which people listening and watching that would have gone, like that was some really good one night parties that being the full moon sure added to the ambience, I guess you could say, of the night.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they were epic actually. I think fondly of them when I think back to them. Like they were sick.
Yeah,
I've never been to.
They even did it a couple of times, like actually on the full moon, even when the full moon landed on like a Tuesday or something.
Yeah,
There's a couple of times when they were that true to the moon.
Yeah,
but
true.
I was impressed with that. Like I think the night they did that, they hardly got anyone. They got like 20 people, right? They still did it.
But that's why
shout out to
JJ and Full Moon Crew, Greenie, Saul, all the brothers out there that did that. Mishmash, Kanape, yes, he was legendary. They were some really good fond memories, as you said. Like one of the ones was a -7 night up at Honeysuckle Creek, and
I remember that.
I actually filled my Mitsubishi Magna station wagon full of wood. And I'm telling you, if we didn't bring that wood, there would have been some really cold people up there that night, regardless of how cold it was anyway. But the parties were really good, because I think I mean, you're talking now 10, 11 years, these parties, and from where some of those people then have gone, really established themselves as really good artists in the doof scene of Australia, played international, play major festivals, doofs. So yeah, shout out to JJ and the boys that started FMP and have moved on to bigger and better things from it.
So guys, how do you think the scene has changed over the years? What do you reckon? What are your take on it?
I always find this hard to answer, because I'm like, well, what if I was just starting out now? Like, if I hadn't, you know,
Well, I am
would I still think it? How would my excitement be if I was now 18 right now and I was like Dragons a week? Like, how would I be feeling? I'd probably be feeling pretty excited, actually.
I'm not 18, but I'm starting out now, and I'm fucking very excited. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, there's a lot of it's changed a lot. Like, if you're talking on all sort of spectrums of the scene and community, like production wise, like musically, of course, like it just keeps getting better and better. New stuff's coming out all the time. But if you're talking how's the scene changed with the, say, actual production of stages and like some of the stuff, digital mapping, like these people, how I said, like have started humbly and progressed to a cutting edge sort of production level on all spectrums. It's great. I guess with people wise too, it's attracted such a wide variety of people from all different sort of walks of life, if you want. I guess a lot more people that were just club orientated, so to speak, may have been drawn more to it over the years, because how things have gone with clubs, say from the bigger cities like Sydney, where they had the lockdown laws. Like, I guess it spread out more, you could say. But that's a good thing, right? Like, if people are getting turned on to the doof culture and the fundamentals of good life and good living, yeah, it's a good thing for change, if that's the question being asked.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, Adam? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's evolved, and it's difficult to necessarily judge definitively if it's better or worse, because it's really just different. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it'd be harsh if I said, oh, the glory days were all in the past, you know, and what we had in the past is irreplicatable now. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case, you know. I think it's just a little bit different now, you know. For a little while we were a bit insular, like when at the beginning of the 2000s, you know, there was a crew called Techno Tribe that did some stuff, and they stopped for a bit. And then there was a crew called Unity Through Music, and they went for a while, then stopped for a bit. And then there was sort of like a gap for ages, you see, where it was like not much. We didn't really have much scene. We had a bit of a rave scene. So it's a bit sad that the rave scene, we used to have raves at ANU and UC and a few other places. That scene seems
the
to
rock
have...
climbing centre.
Yeah, I think that scene seems to have gone. I don't know if there's anything going on there. I think that's kind of died, which is a bit sad, because that was like a different form of the doof. You know, like it's like you have overlap, but it was kind of a bit of a different vibe to it.
But as you said, you came sort of from that scene yourself, like the clubs and the raves, to going out to the ones in the bush. Like back then, they call it doof. Like, I don't remember that term back then in the sense of the doof music, as they say. But
someone just interestingly, someone, I'm not gonna name the name, but someone pointed out to me that I posted in the Canberra doof community the post about White and Massive, and I called it doof.
Okay.
Which was apparently bush rave. Bush
that's
doof.
what I remember, the bush rave, you know what I mean? For sure.
But I didn't understand that there was a difference, you know, so for me, I guess, I can't remember like, the term doof being used back then either. Yeah, you know?
That's like from what I know, I think one of the first doofs, out bush raves, whatever it is, outdoor sort of thing, was at Wiseman's Ferry in New South Wales. I think that's up around Sydney way or something, right? So if you want to, anyone out there wants to, when they watch the podcast, actually comment or ask, because I think like...
Where does the term doof come from?
Yeah, where does the term come from? I guess it caught on, like many words catch on in all sort of like how we talk and the linguistics and harmonics of talking. Like I guess
to me, my
makes sense,
was,
right? The doof. We're going to the doof. It's going to be doof all
And
weekend.
that was
like,
distinct from
that's
rave.
what-
There was a clear delineation
sure.
between the two
but
back
I
then.
thought the doof
Yeah.
was music pumping out in the bush. That was the doof. Rave was more sort of a warehouse.
That's
kind
how
of-
I would
Yeah,
conceptualize it as well.
For sure.
That was my understanding. I
Yeah.
didn't know that there was like actually bush rave as well.
Yeah.
But
But
apparently it depends on the type of music that's
Yeah,
played.
you play
Yeah.
rave music in the bush. that's a bush rave.
Yeah,
right?
bush
Whereas
rave.
the doof
Yeah.
refers to
It's
like a
sidetrack.
psychedelic,
Yeah.
psychedelic
Which is
focus.
kind of, come on.
It's labels,
so-
guys. Like, do we really
Yeah,
need that?
it's
Like,
doof, but some people some people
then
can,
have a good time.
you
Like,
see, some people consider,
whatever it's called. We're
for
there.
some people, doof doesn't
it's
even,
where it's at.
It's not even connected with music. For some people, doof connected with somebody getting high or psychedelic experiences, not necessarily related to music. I've heard people comment on some of my posts and say that it's not about music.
At all.
Yeah, I don't go to doofs for music.
Yeah, maybe they, for sure that's a fair comment and probably widely practiced at a doof festival. People that go there for the visceral experience of it all, regardless if it's the music or the people, the visuals, the art.
Everything.
Everything,
Yeah,
the food,
the social part, really.
everything,
Yeah.
the connectivity.
I know
Yeah,
people have
you're
actually
right.
said that it was about going for their mates. They didn't really care about the music. It was just
Yeah.
like mates were there,
Yeah.
so we're gonna have a mad time.
and I guess
you know.
I guess the fundamental of doof, the last one I was gonna just say was the symbiotic sort of connection to nature. I mean, where it can come back to, like, you can do it like you said in the warehouse, and that's how it is. It's pushed towards that sound and that sort of energy and feeling. But out in the bush, it's a different thing, right? Like, it's sort of you're the guest, and it's how it can be sort of that I guess a holistic experience.
Yeah.
Being in nature and connecting
yeah.
to give thanks and pay homage to what's come before and what will be there after.
Or just being taken away from your day-to-day normal
Yeah.
city living experience.
Yeah.
Being placed in
Yeah.
Prog is bullshit.
So that's why, I guess how you touched on before, how Dragons become such a fundamental sort of experience for that. People, because that's one thing I wanted to touch on, how this year they're incorporating the tree planting. I think that's
Cheers,
great.
boys.
Cheers. Shout out to Poncho.
Shout out.
It's nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah.
keep drinking because I gotta refill you guys.
I'm a light drinker these days, Misha. I'll tell you and the folks out there.
Well, me too.
I've got the
but-
beer and that, and but yeah, it's a lovely drop, no doubt. But just touching then back on the tree planting side, how Region, the crew that's helping in with Dragon this year, to actually people that might be coming for the first time and think, oh, I've never planted a tree, let alone a plant. That might turn them on to something whole new, as you said, apart from the music. So people that go to Doofs for whole different reasons is a great thing. Like, if their intentions, which the majority of people that go, the high percentage of people that go, their intention is for good and good times, whichever way they find it, and regardless if that's from the music or whatever reason.
Yeah, well, at a festival like that, there is a lot of other things that you can enjoy besides music, definitely.
100%. And I'm sure the Dragon Dreaming festival crew, the people running it, will no doubt, as they've always done, put on the premier production on all levels, from music to production of the stages, art, food, market stalls, whole the workshop areas, sacred space, you name it. It'll be it'll be top notch for sure, in my eyes.
So, where do you guys think this whole Doofs thing is progressing?
We came to the word, huh?
I think it's been on the tip of our tongue for a while. We talked about
The evolution of the doof, you know? It ties
yeah,
into the evolution of consciousness and where does consciousness go.
Yeah.
I reckon it's gonna survive. Although it feels a little bit like there's a little bit, you know, it's getting a bit too dualistic. Sometimes you've got like, you know, authorities, law enforcement, kind of heavy crackdown, and then counterculture kind of fighting to exist. You know, so sometimes I kind of wish that level of intense duality could kind of drop just a little bit, so that it could be a bit more even.
How does it happen? What do we do to make that happen?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's activism sometimes works. I mean, it doesn't always work, but it sometimes works.
Like what kind of
So
activism?
you could be active. You could push for you know, for more music, for more art, you know, for more cultural experience, more events. You know, you could have people who campaign for that against
what government?
Yeah, exactly. Campaign the lawmakers or you know, voice opposition to, you know, draconian things that are coming in and things like that. I mean, you could do it that way, but I think that the government's also like seeing it as a bit of a crime lab, you know, of sorts. And so it's sort of always got one eye on it, as if it's like this is a dark thing. You know, when the people who are in it are trying to make it into a light thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know exactly where it goes. I think it's going to continue to exist. If there's more heavy-handedness, I think it'll be more renegade.
Yeah.
If it's a little bit easier on restrictions, and I think parties can be a bit more above ground.
Yeah.
I reckon. I don't think.
But it's
where's that common
necessarily
ground?
Win, though,
Where's that
mean?
common ground then?
But isn't it already like this? There are some
Well,
parties that are underground. There are some parties
no
like
doubt.
Dragon are official.
Yeah. Well, I guess once how it becomes bigger, and not to put the word on it, but where it's actually not entrepreneurial to do it, but there's an ethos of establishing a name, and but first and foremost, that's the thing behind Dragon. I think they do it for the people, regardless of what the back end's going to come out of it financially. That's probably not the main reason. But what I'm saying, how Adam just said with the renegade style progress, that's how I think it's going to progress back to that cycle, to do it our way. And when I say our way, the way where you're obviously on the land, and the people organising parties, they're doing it for the people and for their friends and wider community to have a good time. So to have, as Adam said, the authoritarian sort of presence where it's sort of they can clash this counterculture with the authority and restrictions and guidelines to follow. Like a lot of people might say, well, that mightn't be for me either, because regardless of the high end production, and which, you know, you're going to definitely get good production out of these one night Doofs these days as well, 1 or 2 night smaller festivals proper as that level 2. But I guess what I'm saying is I think it'll progress more to underground again, and to keep the scene vibrant in the sense of the true essence, you know, like festivals are great, but you know, like,
but Doofs are better.
Doofs, yeah, for sure. There's nothing like intimacy, you know what I mean?
The government can make it hard for the people who want to put on the party. You see what I mean? And if it's too hard for those people to put on the party, then they may not put on the party, which means that you lose a scene, right? Which is then a tragedy for everyone who wants that culture to sort of thrive, right? So that's kind of quite sad.
That means that there was always going to be underground.
Well, it depends on how anti-establishment the culture want to be. I think it's always been part of it ever since its origins in Goa. It's always been a bit anti-establishment. It may, you know, so it may relish the opportunity to continue to be anti-establishment, or it may, you know, I mean, at times it has gone a bit bigger, a bit more, you know, a bit more mainstream, you know, and but it doesn't tend to go too far. You know, it has a bit of a. I think the only way to really get it long term and big is to have it at a very high level of consciousness. Yeah, you know, and it's not quite there yet. It's like a work in progress, like everyone else.
Yeah, like us all.
It's always work in progress. I love that word.
But what the good thing about those festivals like Dragon Dreaming and other bigger festivals, some people, that's their first experience at that experiencing that culture, like maybe the music, but the whole thing, you know. And if they come out of that leaving with life-changing experiences in a good way, which more than likely will happen, that's a really good thing. So I think, as I just said before, for going underground, like I don't think the festival scene will die out because more people get turned on, and you know what I mean, like how it's progressed and progressing, like some of the major festivals, and I think they offer you the glamping, that option of they take care of all the camping and everything like that, you know, sort of you can have that whole experience of that where, you know, it's something maybe different, you've never camped before, but you don't have to worry about setting up a tent. Like if you got the money for that and you pick that option, I'm sure you're going to get a good tent at Dragon Dreaming, if they which I think they did have that option. But whereas the Doof, someone that's next to you might even help you set up your tent. That happened to me at Stomping Grounds. They were from Adelaide. I'd asked them where they were from, and they'd come all the way from Adelaide. Like a whole heap of their mates had done a road trip, said after everything with the COVID, and I thought that's great. And we all did the tent. I knew how to set up a tent, but they said, no, we'll help. We want to do it. So that's the experience you're going to get at a festival probably too, but at a Doof on that more intimate level, you know, that's one thing I really love about smaller sort of Doofs as to Doof festival or you know.
Prog is bullshit.
So, where is the music progressing? What do you reckon? What about Nathan? What about hip hop? What do you think about hip hop? Where is that progressing?
Well, I think with hip hop, like it's progressing where a lot of older artists are still producing some great music and collaborating with great producers of these times. So an example of that could be Cypress Hill, like some OG Los Angeles OGs that came out with their first album, Cypress Hill, back in the early 90s. They just brought out an album about a week ago called Back in Black that was produced by a US producer, Black Milk. So for how hip-hop's progressing, on just use that as an example, I think it's progressing in a good way because the new school and the old school, like collaborating like that, is only going to be good things for on the hip-hop sort of tip of music. Obviously, with the OGs, as we've said, bring something to the table, and obviously like some new awesome producer that produces really good music, working together. It's really good. Like it's on some of the hip hop coming out in this last month, I'll say is really good. You want to touch on guys like Alchemist, produced an album with Benny the Butcher. That's with Griselda Records, but their collab they did. As I said, the Cypress album. Even in Australia, like Taunts, his new album is just so good. He produces most of the music himself, but this album does have many producers as well, like from Australia and overseas. So for hip hop, how the music's progressing, I think it's good. Like it depends what you listen to, because as you say, with all different genres, sub-genres, like a lot of new stuff comes out that I don't even know, but someone else is going to be really into because that's the sound they like. You know, someone like Pop Smoke or that kind of stuff, like stuff, I shouldn't say it like that, but you know, stuff you don't really listen to, but when you hear it, you're like, oh, that's good, but there's so much out there, right? Like it's not disposable anymore, but like platforms like digital platforms like Spotify and the lot, you know, you've got such a choice. Like the algorithms will push this music onto you, so you've got your free choice to find what's your niche, if you want to say it like that, or what you're into. But there's such a broad variety, so it's progressed to a point where the people that are doing it and putting out music, they're catering for such a broad if you talk, as you asked the question for hip hop, and I guess in all genres of music, from electronic dance music, if you want to say that, but what we listen to, psytrance, to techno, to the, as Adam said, the Chillgressive, like all this new stuff that's coming out. People are pushing their boundaries and what's come before them to progress to a state of, evolving constantly, like.
Constantly progressing.
Yeah.
So we're basically stuck in prog, aren't we?
Can't escape from.
Cannot stop progressive progression or progressiveness.
Stuck in prog.
We're basically getting to a point where we're almost like confused about the genre now, aren't we? It's almost like, because the number of genres, if you go from the beginning, like when electronic, and it's not surprising at all, right? If you look at when electronic music first started, maybe like 80s or maybe, Kraftwerk or 70s maybe, late then, popcorn and stuff like that. Like there was only like a few genres because there wasn't much production capacity. It's still pretty raw off the press, so it was only a few. But if we look at how it's evolved since then, now we've got like futuristic tech, funk, house, Morningside, Twilight. Or something.
For sure.
Ridiculous, isn't it?
So is that the Twilight remix? Yes.
So where does prog come into that one? There should be some prog in that.
Well, now you got prog's the stem of prog has been split into like the branches or the leaves of like now there's like 10 different subgenres of prog. And there's,
prog is
20 different subgenres of psytrance.
You're saying prog is a genre?
No, I could. Well, yes. It is more than just a genre. It is like. It's a philosophy.
It's a fucking virus, mate.
Prog will get you. Did you go watch the Prog set? We know you did.
I just do, like, for example, so we have I was just thinking about this issue recently.
Das Vidanya.
No, we have Privet.
Yes. Thank you to our sponsor for today's episode.
Yeah. Poncho
Fox. I can always go to have it. Love this drink.
Yeah, it's good.
I gotta say, I've been having a few sips even when I'm not doing podcasts or anything like that. So it's so good. I've been having it off camera, not only on camera.
Prog is bullshit.
What was I gonna say about this? We have Bush Techno,
Okay.
right? But we don't have Bush Trance. Why? Where's Bush Trance?
Bush Techno is an Australian coined term which comes out of our distinct genre of like progressive trance and progressive house.
Oh,
now you've
Our Australian kind of branded kind of sound, which people are really into.
Progressive there. I thought it was Bush Techno. What I mean?
Well, we've had progressive house labels. You know what I mean? Like Australia's always been sort of fairly. Well, we've actually had some really good progressive trance labels.
But going back to the question, we have Bush Techno. Why we don't have Bush Trance?
Whoa. I guess because
we have Bush Prog.
Because in this country, as there's so many subgenres of the psytrance, they're categorized into those subgenres because of the sound that they are. So with the with the Bush,
you really lost me.
With the Bush trance, like you've said, why isn't it called Bush trance? Like, I guess because it's coined psytrance, which is like psychedelic trance.
But psytrance is much broader than
So what's the difference? What you're saying is what's the difference? You've asked the question, why is there Bush Techno, which Adam touched on, and I'll touch on mine for like probably when I went to those earlier parties was more the music that was played, a techno sound, more wasn't that to say in like where it had progressed to now, where it's so many. The set list for a party, if it's a one night party, might be that slower techno sound, house, to move in as the ebbs and flows of the night go, to progress into the faster sort of psytrance acts that you're gonna hear, or how it's progressed to that. Maybe
So,
why is there no bush trance?
Yeah.
In my eyes, why is it not called that? Because bush trance, bush techno. It's a hard question, but
I'll put it the other way. Where did the trance go? Everything is psytrance. Is there just normal trance?
For me,
anymore?
there is.
yeah.
There's a definite genre.
Yeah.
Although even that's split a little bit
Well,
now.
what does that sound like? Because some of
That's your Ferry Corsten, Armin van Buuren traditional kind of sound, like your
Right.
Paul van Dyk original. That's
uh.
original trance.
is it still being sort of produced, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, but again, it started to split up. Like some of them are playing it slower now. It used to be much more like a bit quicker. It was like 135 to 140. Now there's a lot of that same sound, but it's like progressive house speed at like 128 or to 130. So, but it's a trance track, but it's at that speed, right? And then there was like back in the day, they used to have like some very fast sort of very fast trance. I'm not quite sure, but it was like bordering on like the happy hardcore kind of sound, right? But yet it was still very trancey.
That was that ravey sound.
Yeah, that's right. And that was like 150.
Yeah.
You know, they're not playing much of that stuff now. The trend is for slower overall, I think.
I think it's low end instead of that.
They got rid of the synths and they brought it down into earthy instruments, earthy production. So the Euro trance sound, which is like all the big melody uplifting, like hands in the air, all that, all that's kind of, everyone's like
cheesy trance, I call it.
They hate it, right? They've all thrown that out, and it's like now it's gonna be like it's more like techno, right? So it's bush techno now.
Yeah.
Right?
I see.
Yeah, and touching on the psytrance, that obviously it's been a long for me since 2014 when I went to Europe and went to Boom Festival. Many people there, they don't say psytrance, they just say trance. For that whole that night is the what we say forest side, the dark side night, the high tech. It's just trance to them. Like it's not sort of looked at as a subgenre. But I guess with
interesting.
Sort of to coin, if you wanted to put a name to your sound, you know, a lot of people might in
call
the bio or
they just call it prog.
Well, that's why if you want to, some of you said bush prog. I mean, one person I remember, he had the dinosaur prog.
Jesus Christ!
You know what I mean?
Hilarious.
Brachiosaurus.
Rhinoceros.
At a Doof, they labelled his...
Ryan, did you really do that?
Dino
Ryan?
I think it could have been Lucid Labyrinth. You know how they've got all the subgenre labels.
They get some people have made up funny new ones
that
in
true,
there. Like,
what I just said, I think it was. But you know what I mean? So if people put labels and sort of pigeonhole it, so to speak, but those people mightn't even want to be pigeonholed and put under a sort of way of sounding like. So that's why I think people that are out there, you know, regardless doing DJ or producing, if they're bringing a sound that's for them something different,
they call it prog.
Well, not to say that, call it prog, but to say I'm sort of progressing with what's going on around me, evolving to, because it's like the whole DJ thing, like there's some sort of bite, like they're using something they've learned or heard and come from to push their way of doing it, which on a DJ mixing way is like, of course, that you're mixing it your way, but with a producer sort of aspect, the sounds like to bring something new and refreshing, so to speak, to the table is a great thing to progress that sound to a point where people think, oh wow, like sounds
that's
like what
fucking progressive. That sounds very progressive.
But you wouldn't say it like that, would you? Hey? Well, yeah, but say, that sounds like so and so.
That's a good prog,
mate. That is progressed to the point that it's gonna progress. So, you know what I mean, bro? Like,
well, you just put your heart and your soul into like your production, whatever it is. You know what I mean? You don't really want to be just. You don't want to be just like, oh, it's prog. You know, you kind of like, well, my prog's a little bit different. I got this in my prog.
Super prog.
You know, I put my heart and soul into this. I don't want to be just like labeled with the masses. You know, like.
That's so. So you know, I would like to raise a point. You know, some of this progressive psytrance, and I mentioned it to you.
So
the psytrance, it's not really enough to be called psytrance.
For you or
For me, of course. It's subjective.
Or for anyone.
I think
From your perspective.
from your perspective,
Yeah,
from
of
my
course.
for me, it's not psy enough to be called psytrance. It could be progressive trance, but not progressive psytrance.
Well,
So
but
does
it's psy
that-
because of the baseline of the
Just
the
not enough-
baseline. The
not enough
baseline is
going
what
on.
defines it as
Too
psy.
repetitive to the same. I mean, it's driving. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
great music and it's driving and it's
Like that
fucking-
low end chunk.
But
that
there's not
sounds-
much
yeah.
psychedelic stuff in it,
Okay.
in my opinion. Like it's just
We've got a few FX, but I mean some of the that's happens in a lot of different genres as well. Like the main thing that they're relying on to make it psychedelic is effects, not really bassline or kick. Sometimes.
well, no, but just a lot
So-
of different stuff, different sounds coming out of you
Yeah.
unexpectedly. That's how I define psy, sort of psychedelic music is sort of unexpected.
So once the label prog goes in front of it for you, there's that expectation, as you said, or indifference to think, oh, okay, it's going to be like this.
No.
Okay.
For me, I think that everything is prog.
Is that why everything's bullshit? Is that why we should call this podcast? See, prog is everything.
Yeah, that's why it's all so muddy and confusing. That's why it's bullshit. The term is bullshit, not the music.
Prog is bullshit.
Yeah, but I'll say it like that. Like one time I was at a festival, Doof, whatever, you know what I mean? Like at a fucking party, and someone was going, oh, this and that about the music and analytic, and I was like, listen, man, sometimes I just like to dance to it. I don't want to study it, what it is.
Yeah,
you know? Like
exactly,
it sounds fucking
exactly,
good right
yeah.
now. That's what I'm gonna do. You know, that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can talk of, oh, it falls into this or it sounds like that. If it sounds good,
Yeah.
that's fundamentally what's good about it. Like, you know what I mean? It's done its
Of course.
job. Like,
course.
with you said, how you said, you like your side trance with that psychedelic sounds and a lot going on. Of course,
No,
like,
I don't
at-
like my side. I don't like my side. I like psytrance, but that's not my thing.
oh, you don't like a lot of stuff going on.
No.
Sorry.
Let's rewind. No.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just add an
Psytrance
exception
is
here.
not my thing.
Okay,
Let's
I
do
have
it this way.
some
Psytrance
progressive
is, let's make it
psytrance.
clear.
it's not so much your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
I
thing
have some-
is
sorry.
side techno,
Yeah.
and I think side techno is kicking fucking ass. Of fucking this side trance, it's got a lot of fucking.
so it's definitely got prog's number, but now it's moving on to just side trance.
I don't know what prog, how prog
Side-
comes into
so
it.
it's
I'm
side
just
steps-
talking side techno. I'm just talking
No,
side techno.
not your. Yeah. What you play, of course, and what you're into, the side
Yes,
techno.
yeah.
I'm saying, has that surpassed how you just said prog side
Oh
trance?
no! I don't know.
Not
Side, no,
surpassed.
some. I'm just saying that side techno.
Yeah,
This new stuff that's coming out recently, it
Yeah.
beats in terms of the psychedelic sounds. It beats side trance.
right.
So
Has that music progressed itself to
I
that
think
point?
so. I think so.
Or
I think so.
It
Something.
came from
I think it progressed itself to that point.
amalgamation of different styles, like
Oh,
a lot of them
Yeah,
do.
yeah. I think so. Like it's just, or maybe it's evolved. Like even something that's called minimal techno is
Yeah.
no longer really minimal. It's got so many sort of. Can you stop scratching that?
I wasn't really. I wasn't really like
Let's hear
hammering.
that.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I can hear it quite
All up
fucking
in there.
That's
clear.
kind of quite
Like,
If you-
absorbing.
please, viewers, please, and listeners, we apologize. That's DJ Incongruous is he's keen to speak. We are not giving him please, Adam, what do you reckon?
Well, I was willing to listen, but I was trying to butt in, so I apologize.
Please,
for that.
Oh, sorry if I've
yeah,
rambled.
you've
Stop
made it
rambling,
very
y'all.
clear. We've heard you, so please, it's your turn.
I'm like going. Listen to me.
what and I'd love to hear what you got to say about this.
It's great to hear everyone's perspective. I'll say that.
I've got some progressive psytrance tracks that are like super psychedelic, and I've got others that aren't really that psychedelic, and then I've got progressive psytrance that's some of it's really psychedelic. Like I think back of like I got some Simon Postner records on vinyl, for instance. That's like crazy psychedelic. But I've also got some other stuff that's kind of just hammering away and not necessarily particularly psychedelic. Techno, same. All genres pretty much same. So it's just like a spectrum of how psychedelic it is for every genre, really. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if it's not psychedelic enough, well then you'd go, fuck, I'm over this like insufficiently psychedelic sound. I'm gonna like go and get some more psychedelic.
Yeah.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. The sound that you play is fucking awesome. It's really awesome. It's driving. It's. I love.
I guess how you can say how the scene's progressed for the types of genres fit the time of day with how a set time will be laid out for the sound you just said. Adam's playing like, you know, it fits a beautiful early morning or sort of early afternoon sort of vibe, you know, it uplifting, sun's out, color, beautiful driving music, like you said, uplifting, hands in the air. Definitely not from my sort of perspective. That's what I really like as well. But that's how I guess you can say it's a good thing. There's such a variety to fit into what people want to hear at what times of the day. You know what I mean? There's such a broad yet eclectic sort of group of producers and DJs playing all those different sounds, which is great.
Prog is bullshit.
I'd like to bring up another issue that you just touched on, different sounds of the day. Who makes these rules? Which music should play at what's a time of the day?
Whoever's programming the music for the festival gets the honour. That's the best part of putting on a whole festival.
Why are we
that is
all
like the most exciting thing for me. Like,
why are we
times?
all fucking subjected to that? Who fucking cares what music plays at what time of the day? I mean, if you play cool music, it doesn't have to be any genre in particular.
No,
I mean, it's
not
fucking,
at all. But I guess the criteria you'd have to meet when you submit a application to actually play at the festival for what you're going to bring and what they have a choice to pick from, with such, as I said, an eclectic array of artists out there that would be putting in applications. It's not a given that any type of sound or, as you said, when's it fit the type of day for the bill. Like you said, if it's good music, it's probably going to get on, and then they're going to work around that.
They'll
and
just,
well, we're giving you this, bring this, the daytime. So if you're obviously these, you know, the people we know and people that we don't that are going to be playing at Dragon, as we've touched on a few times, to say you're going to know their sound for once that, say, set list comes out during the week or whenever you get there or whatever. You know, you're going to go, oh, they're going to be playing there, and that's going to be this. You know, you never lay out how it's going to play out for you at a festival on a big... But you know, oh, that's day of this artist, that's that session of that sound that I like, or, yeah, you know what I mean? So who gets to pick that? As Adam said, the curator of the music that's obviously gone through with a committee of people, or however it's done to... cipher, if that's the word, or go through all those applications of people who obviously put their heart and soul, which
but it shouldn't bloody. I'd love to hear some fucking hip hop in the morning, for example. Some fucking cool.
I mean, some of the artists.
We shouldn't be.
No, I think Dragon Dreamin' has had some great hip hop artists. The last few years they had a group, Indigenoise, so from the North Coast. And I think maybe still in that area, some of the artists, Indigenous hip-hop artists, they were great down on the Lake Stage one year, and when they played up, that's the thing with Dragon, as the elements change with time, and as does each way it's sort of curated, if we're using that word again, it's they do that. So the people who organise and pick when the music is played definitely know what they're doing, and pick the artists that fit the bill and time of the day for that. So say if you want to call it like as an old term is called, the witching hour, if they're playing the psytrance, you're gonna expect some pretty buck wild psychedelic, probably on the dark spectrum of the music being played, where they're having that to cater for the people that want to hear that music, and not to who want to, but so many people that mightn't have heard that sound, or they're there anyway because it sounds freaking awesome, you know, like, do you know what I mean? So the progression of the scene to get to the point where it, you know, obviously it's always been like that, where you get picked, or there's a broad spectrum of people to choose from, and groups and artists on all different formats of music and genres, as we've said. It's a great thing because, you know, you're getting some of the best, and like, to not be part of that is to have it out of your hands and leave it in the hands of someone else. Like Adam said, that's probably the best job you could have of doing it. Oh, I get to pick the music. Like, well, you've got a big task to bring it off, and you know, people have got a lot of expectations with that. So, as we've spoke before, I think the music end of a festival, and on that sort of level, music is a real big fundamental of. You've got to have some of the real good stuff that's getting around.
So thanks to the person who is doing it all.
Yeah, Dragon Dreaming.
Big expectations from you, bro.
Is it, bro?
Yeah, it is, bro. It is, bro.
It's really narrowed it down,
It is,
bro.
bro.
Like,
Yeah,
now
I
it's
think, you know who you are.
And you know, but it comes out when you first got the idea of the party or festival anyway. You know, like, it comes from the actual mindset of the original creator, or the, you know, which usually is the promoter as well. So, you know, like, people have a dream for their party. You know, that's like, they want to bring certain artists, they want to bring a certain sound, they want to create a certain experience. You know, and then that leads into, well, these are the artists we're looking for. This is the programming that we're going to have. The programming is actually super important because the journey lasts for more than the length of one artist's set. And if you have very disjointed sets going back and forth, sometimes that can lead to very interesting experiences, and sometimes that would lead to less flowing experiences.
Yeah.
And it's actually good to have a bit of a mixture. You know, it doesn't always have to be a perfect seamless transition over the eons between one genre and another, like all wavy. Sometimes it can be like bam, bam, bam. You know, you could have a whole heap of creative ways of programming that. And people are.
Well,
people are now starting to do really interesting variations of the traditional model that came out of Goa.
Yeah.
You know, like, because the original Goa model was like, you know, play some house at the beginning of the night.
They have the bands.
Go into heavy, dark psytrance, which you had to push through all the way to the dawn, and then you'd get your uplifting, flowing stuff.
Yeah.
Now there's heaps of festivals that don't even think along that, like that original line. They're not doing that at all. There's festivals that flip that on their head. They turn the music off at night. Yeah. They'll start again in the morning with progressive or techno, or maybe they don't want prog. You know, they'll go straight to bands, or they'll turn that stage off and put something else on a different stage.
Yeah.
So
it's
people aren't restricted by the traditional patterns of the programming in the past, and I think
I think
it's actually good.
I think by what you said, it's definitely good, but it's also good to have that guideline. I guess how it's obviously progressed, where that ebb and flow of the music that's played, without being disjointed, as you said, to add to the whole experience. So there's all different sounds, and it's at the different time of day, as we've touched on, you know. So,
but I mean, sometimes you'd want it seamlessly to transition, you know, keep that same groove going, you know. So there you might do a seamless transition for several hours there, and it's just like one nice big flowing experience. Then you might suddenly want to shift energy and bring in a curveball, you know, and it's all of a sudden like everything on that stage changes. And I feel like you could do some really interesting concepts with this. Like, I sometimes think about having a party set up where you might do 12-block or 12-hour blocks of a certain genre. So you might go to a festival, you'd start off with like chill out for 12 hours, then it might go into deep house for 12 hours, and it might drop into breaks for 12 hours, drum and bass for 12 hours. That'd be your urban night. And then you might drop it into techno and do that for 12 hours. And psytrance 12 hours.
It's hard for some people. You know?
It can be like, oh, we've really had enough after, 9.5 hours.
Yeah.
No, it's 2.5 to go, man.
Yeah,
that's good too, to say, if you had that array of artists.
Yeah, exactly. If it was a big festival like that.
Which I'm sure there's ones like that. It's
Sometimes,
why how we said before, for all the different music, there's all the different stages. There's not just the one stage at the festival.
Yeah.
There's the main stage, the bass stage, the chill stage.
Yeah.
There could be the live band stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's great to have that
Yeah.
continuum of music, but you could be here at 1 minute and the next you're like
Exactly.
the Forest Sigh, and the next minute you're at the chill stage
It's
listening
awesome,
to some,
isn't it?
deep dubby
It's
greatness,
it's just awesome.
Yeah.
And
It's what you want, that variety.
you can even have it with stages. Like I saw a festival in Europe once, and it had 3 stages. It had a chill out, it had a dark side, and it had like a prog and full on side, right? And each stage played nothing but that genre for the whole time, right? So if you want a different experience where you would move yourself rather than, but the programming was like all consistent, fairly unidimensional. That's a bit rare. Like most people now sort of have like a main stage lineup and then a late stage lineup, and then as they piece them together, they look at the overlap, and it's like, well, if main stage is pumping, maybe people will need a chill zone, so we'll have more chill on the opposite stage. And so having variety so that people can get the experience they're looking for when they want it, not be forced to do like what they had to do in Goa, which is like 3 o'clock in the morning, having to push through like the death sigh to get the break of the dawn. That's what people used to have to push through. Now people aren't willing to push through anymore. People are like intolerant to that.
I guess it depends on the party, how big it is. I mean, sometimes you're stuck with it, you just have to push through.
Well, that's it. There's parties that cater for all the different genres too. You can have a full dark side, high-tech party that goes for 3 days because there's so many artists out there doing that, and people are putting on a high-end production party with that, which as you know, in this New South Wales scene,
there's one coming up. I'll tell you a motive one. I'm going to that one.
I think some of the music there will be world class for sure in that genre of style of music, which the old Tiri motive party I went to in 2019, it was really good. It was called that. Now it's called
but it's still ulterior motive.
It's the crew and their all their mates and everyone else crew that's helping. I'm sure it's going to be a great production.
Prog is bullshit.
But that's how we've spoke throughout, and the word progressive, to have it so it's a niche market, so to speak, within the community.
Doesn't it mud the whole thing? Like prog, what is it? Prog this, prog that. Is there prog? Is there prog techno too?
Well, wasn't there? You touched on
techno, progressive techno. What the fuck?
Absolutely.
Is that? I've never heard of that.
Never
heard. What did that last sound like?
I was thinking if that would come up actually, Misha.
Well, someone told me that everything I listen to is progressive, pretty much.
I was thinking if that would come up, and if I could say anything of what I know of progressive techno. So in 2016, we went to Rainbow Serpent in Victoria, and a few of my friends, we stayed in Melbourne for the week after. But the following Saturday night after Rainbow, we went to the Sydney Myer Bowl in Melbourne and saw Derek May and Jeff Mills, the originators of the techno music from Detroit, USA, play with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. So, great night. It rained at the end. It was really wet. If you were there, you knew. Shout out to Heath, Alex and Monica. We were there. It was great. Great night. But for progressive techno, so they played together with the orchestra. They did their own sort of set with the orchestra. If I ever heard the progressive sound of techno, I guess it was Derek May, because he played second and he did his routines with the orchestra, but then he did each individual section of the orchestra. So the woodwind, the brass, the percussion, etc., whatever parts were in it, the violins and all that. So he was stripping back the layers of the music with his beat, you know what I mean? Okay. So he was getting a progressive sound a crescendo would come, and he could progress from that because it was all syncopated and brought together to keep progressing. So one of the people I just said, yeah, so there you go. That's sort of for me.
I reckon that's a good description of. I reckon does that satisfy your definition for what progressive is?
It's not that
A
I'm
perspective.
satisfied or not.
Yeah.
It's confused. Like it didn't clarify it. Not satisfied.
I reckon that's the
I
best
like
description of progressive I've yet heard.
clarify.
He's asked this question probably like 30 people.
Look, I've heard some good.
and that was the
Yo,
best one
it's
I've
a
heard
good
so
one.
far.
Helms
like
Deep
it-
brought it to you. Progressive techno.
I've heard
Best
some good
definition.
description. you
Like
know.
best definition,
Maybe-
definitely.
Thank you,
I
man.
should-
And I know that means a lot coming from you. So thanks. So yeah, I did think of that. So to say that, that's my answer to that.
So prog, what is it? What is prog? Is it a genre? Is it fucking prog? Every genre got a prog. What the fuck is prog? What is it? How do you classify something prog or not prog? What criteria do we have to decide if it's prog?
I reckon
or not
the
prog?
way Nate just explained it is pretty.
Fuck,
reckon
and I
that's
can
a
explain
pretty good
something
answer.
like that too. Like, I mean, it's pretty.
But yes, you can have progressive anything because you could have progressive breaks.
I
That's
mean,
a
it
clear
wasn't.
genre.
I wouldn't say it
Progressive
was
drum
the
and bass.
clearest.
I haven't heard that, but that would definitely
Progressive
be a thing.
drum and bass.
I reckon you could definitely have that. Progressive techno, definitely. Progressive
Yeah.
house, definitely. Trance, definitely.
Ah.
Psy,
It's
definitely.
a fucking
Progressive
ah,
ambient even would sort of make sense. Progressive trap,
bullshit.
progressive hip hop.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Guys, well, I think it's been a fucking very great conversation that we had. Thank you very much for joining the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for giving your insight. Been through the years of listening to all this music, going to the festivals and stuff like that, and even playing, organizing.
Yeah.
So good to hear your perspective. I think for me, it didn't make it more clearer.
The question is still there. What
Feel like
the
this question's
fuck
really
is
agitating.
wrong?
Really
I love-
agitating,
I love the conversation.
It's like a shadow
Thanks
construct
very
now.
much. Thanks
Jungian.
once again.
Thank you. Poncho Fox,
Poncho
thank
Fox,
you for the
for the
one
drinks.
beautiful
Yeah,
drink.
well,
Thank
cheers
you.
again.
Cheers.
The last ones.
Cheers.
Salute. And
Brave.
prog on.
Prog on.
And please, guys, comment what you think about prog. We want to hear your take. Like or dislike, whatever. Engage with us. We want to know what this prog is all about. Because it's still a big question. Stay tuned. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes,
Misha.
awesome.
Legend.
Thank you.
It's
That's
if I can just
awesome.
add one last thing,
Yeah,
yeah,
of
it's such an honor and privilege to come and speak on your podcast because what you're doing for music and culture itself on such a sort of community level, but yet can reach such a broader sort of view all over the world. People could watch your podcast, and it's a good thing because you're passionate about the music and culture, and you really want to learn other people's perspective and insight, and this platform's great for that, for the artist and for people to listen and learn, and as you say, they can then add by being interactive through social media platforms to comment and obviously start a thread, as they say, on different questions, and pushing boundaries is what I think you're doing as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Epic.
All the best. Bye.
Peace, y'all.
Prog is bullshit.